Hello, happy Sunday, everyone. Okay, so today I will just read book and please join me. So this is the part three of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Okay, so I'll read this. Please read together with me. Okay, so the part three is men go to their caves and women talk. So, one of the biggest differences between men and women is how they cope with stress. Men become increasingly focused and withdrawn, while women become increasingly overwhelmed and emotionally involved. That's true. Okay, that is absolutely right. Okay, at these times, a man's needs for feeling good are different from a woman's. He feels better by solving problems while she feels better by talking about problems. Okay, not understanding and accepting these differences creates unnecessary friction in our relationships. Let's look at a common example. When Tom comes home, he wants to relax and unwind by quietly reading the news. He is stressed by the unsolved problems of his day and finds relief through forgetting them. His wife, Mary, also wants to relax from her stressful day. She, however, wants to find relief by talking about the problems of her day. The tension slowly building between them gradually becomes resentment. Tom secretly thinks Mary talks too much, while Mary feels ignored. Without understanding their differences, they will grow further apart. You probably can recognize this situation because it is just one of many examples where men and women are at odds. This problem is not just Tom and Mary's, but is present in almost every relationship. Solving this problem for Tom and Mary depends not on how much they loved each other, but on how much they understood the opposite sex. Without knowing that women really do need to talk about problems to feel better, Tom would continue to think Mary talked too much and resist listening to her. Without knowing that Tom was reading the news to feel better, Mary would feel ignored and neglected. She would persist in trying to get him to talk when he didn't want to. These two differences can be resolved by first understanding in greater detail how men and women cope with stress. Let's again observe life on Mars and Venus and glean some insights about men and women. Okay, so coping with stress on Mars and Venus. So when a Martians, so Martian here are like we called man, gets upset, he never talks about what is bothering him. So that's the attitude of a man. They just like want to keep quiet sometimes, like drink beer. Okay. He would never burden another Martian with his problem unless his friend's assistance was necessary to solve the problem. Instead, he becomes very quiet and goes to his private cave to think about his problem, mulling it over to find a solution. When he has found a solution, he feels much better and comes out of his cave. If he can't find a solution, then he does something to forget his problems, like reading the news or playing a game. By disengaging his mind from the problems of his day, gradually he can relax. If his stress is really great, it takes getting involved with something even more challenging like racing his car, competing in a contest, or climbing a mountain. So, to feel better, Martians go to their caves to solve problems alone. Hello, TechSpot Robert Rice. How are you doing in the US? Okay. When Venusian becomes upset or is stressed by her day, to find relief, she seeks out someone she trusts and then talks in great detail. She she talks a lot. Yes, we talk a lot. Okay. In great detail about the problems of her day. When Venusians share feelings of being overwhelmed, they suddenly feel better. This is the Venusian way. So, oh, you really know how to write Tagalog. Okay. So, oh, it's very late there already. It's 12 o'clock midnight, right? Okay, so here is 12 o'clock in the afternoon, like noontime. Here is noontime. Okay, so how's the weather there? Here is sunny but windy, so it's not very hot. So the women, when we have problems, we just want to talk. We don't seek advices. We just want to release the stress by talking about our problems. So that's the characters of being a woman. But for the man, they think we just nag a lot. Okay, so to feel better, Venusians get together and openly talk about their problems. So on Venus, sharing your problems with another actually is considered a sign of love and trust and not a burden. Venusians are not ashamed of having problems. Their egos are dependent not on looking competent, but rather on being in loving relationships. They openly share feelings of being overwhelmed, confused, hopeless, and exhausted. A Venusian feels good about herself when she has loving friends with whom to share her feelings and problems. That's true. A Martian feels good when he can solve his problem on his own in his cave. So, like, men usually are independent. So, these secrets of feeling good are still applicable today. That's right. Until now, it's applicable today. So, finding relief in the cave. When a man is stressed, he will withdraw into the cave of his mind and focus on solving a problem. He generally picks the most urgent problem or the most difficult. He becomes so focused on solving this problem that he temporarily loses awareness of everything else. Other problems and responsibilities fade into the background. At such times, he becomes increasingly distant, forgetful, unresponsive, and preoccupied in his relationships. For example, when having a conversation with him at home, it seems as if only 5% of his mind is available for the relationship, while the other 95% is still at work. His full awareness is not present because he is mulling over his problem, hoping to find a solution. The more stressed he is, the more gripped by the problem he will be. At such times, he is incapable of giving a woman the attention and feeling that she normally receives and certainly deserves. That's why we feel like you're different because, like, usually we talk a lot and then suddenly you stop talking and you just want to sit in the balcony and drink or like read news or like play with your phone. So we feel like we're neglected. Okay, his mind is preoccupied and he is powerless to release it. If, however, he can find a solution, instantly he will feel much better and come out of his cave. Suddenly, he is available for being a relationship again. However, if he cannot find a solution to his problem, then he remains stuck in the cave. Oh, that's dangerous. To get unstuck, he is drawn to solving little problems like reading the news, watching TV, driving his car, doing physical exercise, watching a football game, playing basketball, and so forth. Any challenging activity that initially requires only 5% of his mind can assist him in forgetting his problems and becoming unstuck. Then, the next day, he can redirect his focus to his problem with greater success. Let's explore in greater detail a few examples. Jim commonly uses reading the newspaper to forget his problems. When he reads the paper, he is no longer being confronted with the problems of his day. With the 5% of his mind that is not focused on his work problems, he begins forming opinions and finding solutions for the world's problems. Gradually, his mind becomes increasingly involved with the problems in the news and he forgets his own. In his way, he makes the transition from being focused on his problems at work to focusing on the many problems of the world for which he is not directly responsible. This process releases his mind from the gripping problems of work so he can focus on his wife and family again. Tom watches a football game to release his stress and unwind. He releases his mind from trying to solve his own problems by solving the problems of his favorite team. Through watching sports, he can vicariously feel he has solved a problem with each play. When his team scores points or wins, he enjoys the feeling of success. If his team loses, he suffers their loss as his own. In either case, however, his mind is released from the grip of his real problems. For Tom and many men, the inevitable release of tension that occurs at the completion of any sporting event, news event, or movie provides a release from the tension he feels in his life. I should read this long time ago. How women react to the cave. When a man is stuck in his cave, he is powerless to give his partner the quality attention she deserves. It is hard for her to be accepting of him at these times because she doesn't know how stressed he is. If he were to come home and talk about all his problems, then she could be more compassionate. Instead, he doesn't talk about his problems and she feels he is ignoring her. She can tell he is upset but mistakenly assumes he doesn't care about her because he isn't talking to her. Women generally do not understand how Martians cope with stress. That's true. They expect men to open up and talk about all their problems the way Venusians do. When a man is stuck in his cave, a woman resents his not being more open. She feels hurt when he turns on the news or goes outside to play some basketball and ignores her. To expect a man who is in his cave instantly to become open, responsive, and loving is as unrealistic as expecting a woman who is upset immediately to calm down and make complete sense. It is a mistake to expect a man to always be in touch with his loving feelings, just as it is a mistake to expect a woman's feelings to always be rational and logical. When Martians go to their caves, they tend to forget that their friends may be having problems too. An instinct takes over that says before you can take care of anybody else, you must first take care of yourself. When a woman sees a man react in this way, she generally resists it and resents the man. She may ask for his support in a demanding tone, as if she has to fight for her rights with this uncaring man. By remembering that men are from Mars, a woman can correctly interpret his reaction to stress as his coping mechanism rather than as an expression of how he feels about her. She can begin to cooperate with him to get what she needs instead of resisting him. On the other side, men generally have little awareness of how distant they become when they are in the cave. As a man recognizes how withdrawing into his cave may affect women or woman, he can be compassionate when she feels neglected and unimportant. Remembering that women are from Venus helps him to be more understanding and respectful of her reactions and feelings. Without understanding the validity of her reactions, a man commonly defends himself and they argue. These are five common misunderstandings. Number one, when she says you don't listen, he says, "What do you mean I don't listen? I can tell you everything you said." When a man is in the cave, he can record what she is saying with the 5% of his mind that is listening. A man reasons that if he is listening with 5%, then he is listening. However, what she is asking for is his full, undivided attention. So we are attention seeker. Number two, when she says, "I feel like you are not even here," he says, "What do you mean I'm not here? Of course I am here. Don't you see my body?" He reasons that if his body is present, then she shouldn't say he is not there. However, though his body is present, she doesn't feel his full presence. And that is what she means. Okay, number three, when she says, "You don't care about me," he says, "Of course I care about you. Why do you think I am trying to solve this problem?" He reasons that because he is preoccupied with solving a problem that will in some way benefit her, she should know he cares for her. However, she needs to feel his direct attention and caring, and that is what she is really asking for. It's really windy, you can hear it. When she says, "I feel like I am not important to you," he says, "That's ridiculous. Of course, you are important." He reasons that her feelings are invalid because he is solving problems to benefit her. He doesn't realize that when he focuses on one problem and ignores the problems she is bothered by, that almost any woman would have the same reaction and take it personally and feel unimportant. Okay. Number five, when she says, "You have no feelings, you are in your head," he says, "What's wrong with that? How else do you expect me to solve this problem?" He reasons that she is being too critical and demanding because he is doing something that is essential for him to solve problems. He feels unappreciated. In addition, he doesn't recognize the validity of her feelings. Men generally don't realize how extremely and quickly they may shift from being warm and feeling to being unresponsive and distant. In his cave, a man is preoccupied with solving his problem and is unaware of how his indifferent attitude might feel to others. So, to increase cooperation, both men and women need to understand each other better. When a man begins to ignore his wife, she often takes it personally. Knowing that he is coping with stress in his own way is extremely helpful but does not always help her alleviate the pain. At such times, she may feel the need to talk about these feelings. This is when it is important for the man to validate her feelings. He needs to understand that she has a right to talk about her feelings of being ignored and unsupported, just as he has a right to withdraw into his cave and not talk. If she does not feel understood, then it is difficult for her to release her hurt. So, finding relief through talking. When a woman is stressed, she is instinctively feels a need to talk about her feelings and all the possible problems that are associated with her feelings. When she begins talking, she does not prioritize the significance of any problem. If she is upset, then she is upset about it all, big and small. She is not immediately concerned with finding solutions to her problems, but rather seeks relief by expressing herself and being understood. By randomly talking about her problems, she becomes less upset. So, a woman under stress is not immediately concerned with finding solutions to her problems, but rather seeks relief by expressing herself and being understood. Actually, I only have 30 minutes, but I cannot finish this all. Okay. Maybe I'll just continue reading the part three of this book later. I have a class at 1 o'clock. I'm sorry. Actually, I just want to read this one while I'm waiting for my next class. And I hope you guys learn something for my less than 30 minutes reading my book. And this is one of my favorite books, actually. I read this before, but I want to read it again and I want to share it with you guys. But unfortunately, I only have 25 minutes because I need to prepare for my class 5 minutes before my class. So, happy Sunday, everyone, and always stay safe. See you later. Salanghe.